Ladies and gentlemen, I am John Strafford. I am not Robert Jenrick. He has more hair than me, and he's a great Member of Parliament. And I gave him all my support in the leadership election so that you know where I stand. So, how do I introduce myself? Dan Hannan calls me the grandfather of party democracy. This week, on a Zoom meeting, Chris Philp said Guy's father, Guy being my oldest son. And Guy was at Trinity College, Oxford, with Jacob Rees-Mogg. And Jacob, being always polite, whenever I met him, as he expected students to call the parents of other students sir, he always used to call me sir, which I quite enjoyed. So, it reminds me of a time when I was on the Kensington and Chelsea Council, which I sat on for 6 years from 1968 to 1974. And I was the councillor for Brompton Ward, which was a 3-member ward, which was probably the safest Conservative seat in the country. And at that time, Kensington and Chelsea Council was probably the safest Conservative council in the country, because out of 70 members, 67 were Conservative and 3 Labour. But we used to get, as councillors, invited to receptions. Mrs. Margaret used to come to our annual reception. And I remember one evening being invited with Caroline and myself to go to this reception at the home of the De Laszlo artists or painters. And they had a house in Hyde Park Gate. And to give you some idea as to what it was like, the reception was held in the house's ballroom. And the ballroom was painted all in black. But round the walls were all the De Laszlo paintings. And each painting had a spotlight on it. And that was the only light in the ballroom. So that gives you an idea of what it was like. And Caroline and I turned up this evening, and we joined the queue that was lined up to shake hands with the De Laszlo family and the VIP dignitaries before going up the stairs to the ballroom. And they had, as usual, as expected, a big toastmaster, all dressed in his red coat. And when we got to the front of the line, he said to me, "Your name, sir?" And I replied, "My name's Strafford, and my wife is Caroline." So he turned round, and in this great booming Sergeant Major voice said, "My name Strafford, and his wife Caroline." I felt such a twit. Let me thank everyone here for welcoming me and letting me speak this afternoon. I first fell in love with this area when I was a member of the Young Conservatives, member of Chelsea Young Conservatives, because we had a weekend conference here in Lyndhurst. And the thing I remember about that conference is that the guest speaker, or one of the guest speakers, was Rear Admiral Sir Morgan Giles. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And he turned up in the conference and suddenly pulled out a Sten gun. Can you imagine that happening today? So I remember that. It left an imprint on my mind. I also remember in the evening dancing, super dancing, with Sandy Shaw and Puppet on a String. This is really going back in time. A trip down memory lane. But anyway, that's when I first fell in love with this area. This beautiful, beautiful area with beautiful countryside, tranquil, lovely, beautiful people. People like Maureen, who's, you know, I've come to this club several times and she always gives a great welcome to everybody. And people like Derek and Alan, Colin, Dan, and constituency chairman Kate. I mean, you have a wonderful, wonderful Conservative association here, and it's the I envy you enormously because I could think of no other that is better. And let me go on now then to the politics and